We had done several scenarios throughout the day already, and it was about 3:30 in the afternoon, and it was about 90 degrees that day, pretty hot, but they had enough water out there for us and stuff, and I was in a team of 4 people, and at that point, I feel this burning sensation in my upper chest, right below my throat. I thought, man, I must have gotten hit in the upper chest, because I didn't know what it was, and I was having some trouble breathing at this point. I was trying to take some deep breaths, I was trying to give out commands at the same time. Here we were still receiving gunfire. I actually went into the ground floor level of the training tower because I felt really bad at that point. She says, listen, you need to be transported to a hospital. I said, why? She says, you have a protein in your blood that's been released in your blood, it's elevated, and it's indicative of a heart injury. And I'm looking at her like, you're crazy. You know, what are you talking about? And I'm telling her I'm in shape, which I was. I used to work out and run all the time and stuff like that. And she's like, no, I'm serious, you gotta go to the hospital. They asked me, where do you wanna go? And I said, Nebraska Medical Center. And that was a no-brainer to me. I mean, swear to God, that's a no-brainer to me. Here comes this team of doctors in the room. I mean, like 6 or 7 of them. He says, you have an aortic dissection up just coming right out of your heart. And I'm like, well, what is that? And he goes, you basically have a torn aorta. And I mean, you should have seen my face. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm like, what? How in the world does something like that happen? You know, I had no clue the shape I was in that I could ever go through something like this. 6 or 7 people come in, to include Dr. Moulton. And I'm sitting there and I said, hey, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, we're taking you to surgery. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I can't go to surgery. I just had breakfast like an hour ago. And they said, yeah, we'll have to work around that because you're going to surgery. I get into the operating room and then I was out. I mean, by then they had IVs in me and what have you, and I was out. I saw my mom there, my wife was there, and I wrote something like, what day is it? And my mom tells me, it's Thursday. I'm like, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, this is Thursday right after the surgery. 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. I was out for like 15 days.
Well, an aortic dissection is a sort of sudden catastrophic cardiovascular emergency. Some not insignificant percentage of people that have an aortic dissection will die suddenly with that. It's a major operation, one of the most serious operations that we do.
Todd, oh man, let me tell you, we called him Koz because that was his nickname. That guy went through quite a bit during his stay here. I will tell you, the first day that I met him was me being called down to ICU because he actually had gone into cardiac arrest.
I don't remember going into cardiac arrest, but I remember being revived from cardiac arrest. I have an individual on me doing chest compressions on my chest. It sounded like somebody was in my ear with a bullhorn saying, you know, can you hear us? Can you hear me? And I can hear somebody say, you know, do we have a pressure on him yet? We need a pressure. We need his blood pressure before we put him under. But at some point during that weekend, I was put on life support. I was eventually read my last rites by a priest. I later met with the chief of police, Todd Kozelichki. He's a great guy, chief of police. And like I said, you can kind of laugh about it now, but this was months and months later. And he said, yeah, we were pretty much going to plan your funeral. We figured you were done. And I remember Moulton walking in one day, and I told him I was crying at that point, and I said, you know, Mike, sorry. I just asked him, I said, am I going to get out of here, you know? He laughed. He kind of smiled, and I'm like, what are you laughing about? And he goes, you've been through the hardest part. You're going to be all right.
I took care of Todd right after surgery. I felt like he was a patient that always took 1 step forward and 2 steps back for a while, but it was his effort that got him through everything.
Todd was one of our sicker patients, and he just was amazing because no matter how sick he was, he always had a positive attitude, and he always had a smile whenever you walked into his room.
We all had a special place in our heart for him, and when he'd go through a setback, we felt for him, but he fought his way through everything.
It's nice to see those people, and it's great when he comes back because he gives us hugs, he's happy to see us, he wants to kind of know what's going on, and he shares what's going on with his life too, so it's really good.
Every time we see him, he's hugs, full of hugs. He's so appreciative of what we have all done, and we're appreciative of him.
It brings a tear to your eye, really, to just know how appreciative he was of everything, and knowing that his hard work and our hard work got him through to start getting back to his normal state of health.
It was miraculous to see the full cycle of how sick he was and how he came through, and it's an inspiration. It's what makes my job so wonderful.
Claire and Rhonda, Beth and Ellen are his nurse practitioners. I mean, they were fabulous. I mean, everybody that was involved in this process, I can't say enough about the Nebraska Medical Center because, I mean, what am I going to say? They saved my life. Till my dying day, I would never want another person doing surgery on me, ever, when it came to that type of surgery, other than Dr. Moore. Never. I don't care how good they are. That guy's the best. He's the real deal. There's no doubt about it. If you don't have the right medical team at the right time treating you, I don't think you're going to make it. I don't care what anyone says. That was my experience. My experience was that I had the right people at the right time, you know, treating me. And if they hadn't, I wouldn't be alive.